Hello, my name is Irene Ajon Amarach, and welcome to this training presentation on current challenges in adult immigrant education and addressing trauma in the ESL classroom. Thank you very much for your participation. I have been an English as a second language teacher in adult education for the past 20 years, with 18 years at the San Diego Community College District. In addition, I have taught Spanish and English courses at private companies as well as in vocational language courses. I have experience teaching in the United States and Mexico, as well as in Taiwan through online instruction. I will be completing my master's degree in advanced studies in adult education in August 2024. Why is it important to learn about immigration trends for ESL teachers and educational institutions? In order to meet the current and future challenges of the student community, it is vital that educators learn about new challenges and changes in this population to better meet students' needs. Knowing the current and future trends will help educational institutions to succeed in their goal to educate students. Addressing new trends and challenges can mean hiring additional administrative staff to register a larger wave of students, recruiting additional educators to provide essential ESL classes, and providing necessary on-the-job training. It can also include hiring employees and/or volunteers who speak the languages of a new wave of immigrants. In this presentation, I will talk about immigration trends, list some current challenges in the ESL classroom for adult immigrants, summarize research on trauma in the classroom, and present guidelines on how to support students experiencing trauma. The objective of this presentation is to provide awareness to and support for instructors dealing with trauma in the classroom. According to a 2023 publication from Concern Worldwide, the number of refugees across the world has more than doubled between 2012 and 2022. As immigration trends are difficult to trace, most of the available data is more than 2 years old. Simply following world news can provide a decent forecast of possible immigration trends. One such example is the current war between Russia and Ukraine. The immigration data and studies will often lag behind the actual world events. It may take more than a year or two to even identify the trend in the data. Adult schools providing ESL classes in the United States can be impacted within months of a world conflict or natural disaster. Over 100 million people have been affected during the same 10 years time frame. In addition to the war in Ukraine, the past few years have seen waves of refugees fleeing Syria, Haiti, and Afghanistan, just to name a few. How have the immigration trends over the past few years impacted schools in the United States? Many schools are seeing an increase in the numbers of students from war-torn countries. In the past few years, many refugees fleeing Central American countries have also been subjected to violence in their home country. Many of the adult ESL students are experiencing trauma as a result of living in and fleeing from a war zone or area of conflict, or even from a natural disaster. At the San Diego Community College District in Southern California, where the instructor teaches, there is an increased need for beginner level and pre-literate ESL instruction. Recently, we have received a large population of Ukrainian, Russian, Haitian, and Afghani students. We are facing a wave of refugee immigrants, and as a result, we will have more students that are experiencing trauma. More material and specialized material is needed to teach lower level and pre-literate students. This material can include pictures, realia, books, and magazines. For many pre-literate students, they may not be used to purchasing books, papers, and pens. Typically, ESL educators are trained to teach classes to students who can read and write effectively in their native language. Teaching pre-literate students is a specialized skill and is challenging. The average ESL instructor is underprepared to meet this instructional challenge, and additional training is needed in this area. Often, teachers complain that students are not learning at a high enough rate. Students may seem distracted and not focus on classroom tasks, or they simply may not participate at all. These may be signs of trauma. Being aware of these signs is important for educators, as is learning how to teach a trauma-informed curriculum. Before we discuss a trauma-informed curriculum, it is important to understand the definition of trauma. According to SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physically or emotionally harmful or threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and physical, social, emotional, or spiritual well-being. SAMHSA lists the following changes in physical and emotional reactions as signs of trauma. As an ESL teacher, you may have encountered some of these behaviors in the classroom. As I read through these signs, think about particular students you may have worked with who could have been experiencing trauma. Being easily startled or frightened. Always being on guard for danger. Self-destructive behavior, such as drinking too much or driving too fast. Trouble sleeping. Trouble concentrating. Looking into space for long periods of time. Irritability, angry outbursts or aggressive behavior, overwhelming guilt or shame, being passive and withdrawn, being tired and not motivated. So what does research tell us about how trauma impacts students in the classroom? Researcher Sydney Mason wrote a research article in 2021 titled Trauma's Effect on English Learners' Language Acquisition: Best Practices for a Trauma-Informed Classroom. In this article, she noted that trauma can affect students' attention, concentration, and memory. Furthermore, for those students who may be passive, quiet, or withdrawn, this behavior also impacts how they learn and their motivation to learn. In addition, if a student is experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder, it may affect their ability to engage with material related to their trauma, such as talking about their country of origin. For example, a common assignment in an ESL classroom may be to talk about their home country. For the average student, this would be a normal task. But to a student experiencing trauma for a wartime experience in their country, they may avoid the assignment or choose not to participate. It is important for instructors to understand this behavior and give them their space. In 2009, Cole and her colleagues conducting research on the effect of family violence in Massachusetts. The research group consisted of a clinical psychologist, a school psychologist, and attorneys. Cole was a former teacher who became an attorney. Her research group came up with a series of recommendations to help traumatized students in the classroom. One of the group's key recommendations was to increase and ongoing training for teachers. Every school with students from war-torn countries need training for staff and teachers on how to deal with people experiencing trauma. Schools must partner with professionals that have experience working with refugees. They can instruct teachers in techniques that will enable them to create trauma-informed curriculums. Cole's group also recommended having mental health professionals in the school settings to respond to trauma-related learning and behavioral problems, as well as to provide assistance to educators and students. Here are 3 simple teaching approaches to support students experiencing trauma that instructors can use in their classroom. There are many other approaches. In this presentation, I will cover 3 approaches that have been useful in my experience. Here are 3 components of a trauma-informed curriculum: learning environment, self-regulation, and language approach. I will discuss each part in greater detail. A predictable and safe learning environment assists the learning and healing among students that have experienced trauma. Some components of this include a positive space, routines, belonging, and feeling connected with others. By a positive space, I mean a well-lit, comfortable, and pleasantly decorated classroom that is inviting. It may include pictures and paintings and posters that are uplifting and represent a cross-section of cultures. Encourage a feeling of ease so students can experience a safe and relaxed environment in the classroom. Previewing daily schedules provides predictability to help with transitions from one activity to the other without startling students with new activities. Clearly structured instruction aids the learning process of the students and encourages a sense of security in the classroom. For example, keep a set schedule of activities each week and follow a general schedule of instructions each day. No surprises. In my classroom, I present a program of the day in every class. Each week follows the same or similar pattern. Finally, establish a good relationship between the teacher and student. This is vital. The ability to control emotions, behavior, and attention is very important to pave the way for learning. Teachers can give students the vocabulary to express their feelings in English to prepare them for counseling. Cole said that teaching students to identify and articulate emotions will help them to regulate their reactions. Teachers can ask students, "How do you feel today?" Have cards with words of emotions. Let students select the cards and state how they feel. Teachers can give students tools to identify and manage their emotions through the language switching approach. This language switching approach helps individuals to distance themselves from something traumatic and allows them to self-regulate. Teachers can show emoticons and help their students to learn vocabulary about emotions in the English language. This activity is a linguistic tool that students can utilize to avoid terrible feelings by stating feelings in a new language. To understand this concept, think about a time when you may have used a swear word in another language. It does not carry the same emotional weight as a swear word in your own language. Another self-regulation technique for disengaged students in an activity: give them a brain break, a 10-minute break where they can walk, draw, or look at a magazine with engaging and relaxing pictures such as art, travel, gardening, etc. In general, it is helpful to learn strategies to deal with stressors throughout the day. Teachers can introduce mindfulness in a useful way by explaining the benefits of mindfulness practices as a regulator of life's daily stressors. The initial mindfulness classroom adaptations include teaching about the benefits of focusing attention on one thing, such as breathing, listening to the sounds in the classroom, or short visualizations of a favorite location, for example, a beach or a forest or a color. The practice of redirecting thoughts helps individuals to focus on the now and lessen the noise in the mind. Additional activities of mindful mini breaks includes visualization around colors, emotions, and gratitude. Teachers can guide a mindfulness practice session before a stressor, such as a quiz or a test. In the resources section, I will talk about a website with guided meditations that you can play in the classroom. Often, people don't focus on how they feel throughout the day. A feeling wheel is a self regulation tool in the classroom where students can be aware of their emotions. This self awareness gives the individual an opportunity to practice mindful strategies to self regulate if needed. Teaching vocabulary using the feelings wheel. Instructors can start a lesson by focusing on one color scheme and teaching the vocabulary 1 week at a time. Instructors can also print the feelings wheel and ask students to cut the strips and organize them in 6 separate envelopes by color and emotion. Label each envelope with the main emotion with a marker matching the color on the feelings wheel: sad, mad, scared, joyful, strong, calm. To practice the vocabulary at the beginning or end of the class or any point in the class, students can ask each other, "How do you feel today?" Students can select an envelope, reach into it, and take out the emotions they are feeling at that moment. Also, if you're reading a story, during the reading, you can ask students how do they think the character feels. Have 4 or 5 sets of the 6 envelopes available if you plan to use them in smaller groups activities. You can find free printable emotion wheels on Pinterest. There are a variety of emotion wheels or feeling wheels appropriate for different ESL levels. This particular slide is showing an emotion wheel for ESL levels 2, 3, and 4. The third component of trauma-informed curriculum that I have used is a language approach. So what is the scaffolding approach? The scaffolding approach is when the teacher starts the lesson by showing learners through examples how new information can be used. Next, through practice exercises, the teacher guides the learners to use the information correctly. Then the teacher creates practice exercises so students learn to use the new information independently. The scaffolding approach moves students effectively towards the language goal. This teaching style builds knowledge by providing clear, predictable steps that students can follow at their own pace. Another effective language approach is storytelling. Sharing stories in groups with other students promotes bonding and healing through sharing similar life experiences. Give space to students that do not want to share their stories. Some people take more time to feel comfortable sharing personal stories, especially difficult situations they have gone through or they are currently experiencing. Finally, having a mentor in the classroom helps new students to adapt faster to their learning environment. In addition, having a mentor motivates disengaged students to participate in class activities and form connections with other classmates. Here are just a couple common mistakes that you should avoid when teaching a trauma-informed curriculum. Researcher Shirley Reynolds said it best in her article of the British Council on Teaching English. Don't open someone up if you don't know how to close them again. By this, she meant that only professional therapists know how to deal with trauma healing therapy, and they are the experts that can listen to students' stories and give them the proper tools to help them process these emotions. Don't put yourself in the role of a therapist, but referring students to counselors is an ideal response. Work with your school's counselor to provide resources to students. Bringing up a traumatic experience can re traumatize the student. Finally, do the best you can to make your class predictable. Predictability provides a safe learning environment. Avoid surprise quizzes or drastic changes to your class activities. If students are disengaged in class, give them space. A brain break would be helpful. I came across this image perfectly demonstrating a brain break. Everybody needs brain breaks throughout the day. This is a free resource for students and teachers at the San Diego Community College District. This site helps students and teachers by adding self-care practices during the day. This website has guided meditation, sleep casts with relaxing audio for restful sleep, videos for daily inspiration, meditation music, quick workouts, and guided cardio exercises. Teachers can play guided meditations to students using this resource. The San Diego Community College District has ongoing Zoom meetings providing mental health information. This training will help teachers gain knowledge and acquire resources for students. You can make an appointment and meet with a counselor via Zoom. There are crisis lifelines available for anyone in need of immediate help. You can also visit this amazing website and learn about valuable resources available to students, such as food assistance resources, housing eligibility, and immigration information. This website has videos with information regarding free telemedicine and teletherapy available to students, both in person and through video chat. Sessions are available in different languages. In conclusion, it is important that teachers and schools administrators are aware of changes in the world that can impact your school and your classroom. This will help you and your school to better prepare to meet the needs of the changing community. Schools administrators should provide ongoing training for teachers and support staff to address the changing needs of students. I encourage you all to seek out training to help your students succeed. Finally, and most importantly, identify resources at your school and in your work community to refer students for mental health services.